Our first stop in the carbon cycle adventure is fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are formed when organic matter has been buried deep under the earth and are subject to heat and pressure over millions of years. Things like cars and factories combust this carbon and release it into the atmosphere. Once in the atmosphere, carbon will bond with two oxygen atoms and form a gas called carbon dioxide. Plants use this CO2 combined with sunlight and H2O to go through a process called photosynthesis. This releases glucose and oxygen. In this case, the reactants are sunlight, H2O, and CO2. The products are oxygen and glucose. The energy in this form is stored in chemical bonds. To access the energy from this glucose, plants and animals must go through cellular respiration. The reactants of cellular respiration are oxygen and glucose. The products of cellular respiration are water, CO2, and ATP. ATP is the way energy is stored after cellular respiration. Plants and animals use ATP for direct transport, metabolic processes such as homeostasis, and to grow and repair tissues. Did you notice the products of cellular respiration were the reactants of photosynthesis, and the products of photosynthesis were the reactants of cellular respiration? The only thing that changes is how the energy is stored, whether it be sunlight, chemical bonds, or in ATP. Plants go through photosynthesis, where they will create glucose to break down during cellular respiration. The products of cellular respiration are the reactants of photosynthesis, so they can go through the loop over and over again as long as there is sunlight. Plants aren't the only one who benefit from the repeated cycle, as many animals, including rabbits, will eat the plants and therefore get the energy from the plants and break it down in cellular respiration. These rabbits may be eaten by another animal, such as the wolf, therefore benefiting the wolf as well, where he will go through cellular respiration. And once again, the reactants of photosynthesis are the products of cellular respiration, so the cycle continues. Provide food for themselves and food for primary consumers and secondary or tertiary consumers. The cycle doesn't end there, though, as decomposers break down dead animals into simpler carbon compounds, releasing them into the atmosphere. Once back in the atmosphere, it becomes CO2 once again, and the CO2 is used by plants for photosynthesis, and the cycle of carbon continues. To summarize, the four major steps in the carbon cycle are photosynthesis, cellular respiration, combustion, and decomposition. Carbon can be found in the atmosphere in the form of CO2, in animals in cellular respiration, in plants in photosynthesis, and the very long process of fossil fuels. Remember, it's called a carbon cycle because it never ends and it keeps on going. Thanks for joining me on this carbon cycle adventure.